Hello and welcome to Define Tomorrow, and welcome to this session where we're going to look at what's new or what we found that's new and useful in Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365 over the last 6 months. I'm Anthony Charman. I'm a business consultant that works in the Microsoft team at Computer World, and I'm joined by Megan Warren, my colleague. Megan.
Hi, everyone.
So, Megan, tell us a little bit about what you do in the Microsoft team.
So, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. So, I work with organizations to understand how they'll use the applications within 365. And then I actually do the training for it. So, I train their users on all the amazing features and functionality within the application so they all know how to use it in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems we have with Teams and with the Microsoft 365 environment is just how much development is going on all the time, and how much, how many new features arrive. So we have to spend time looking at those features and seeing where they're going to apply and where they're going to give benefits to our clients. So what we've done is just choose some of the features that we've seen our clients take on board to improve their communication, collaboration, the way in which they manage meetings. And the first one that we're going to have a look at is the presenter mode options that have arrived in Teams meetings over the last couple of months. Megan, do you want to take us through those?
Yeah, absolutely. So just share my screen, which everyone can see. So these are new features within Microsoft Teams meetings in how you and your content are seen in conjunction with each other when you are sharing content in a Teams meeting. Traditionally, the way it was you clicked share screen or share window in whichever one you chose, and your content would be sort of the main bit of the meeting, and then you'd remain in that small little box in the corner of your screen or someone else's screen. So actually, you can't see you and your content in conjunction with each other, and you just see the content in full screen. What Microsoft have now done is they've introduced multiple different presenter modes, so you can be seen in different ways with your content that you're sharing. So we've got standout mode, we've got side by side, and we've now got reporter as new ones that are coming. And I think there are new ones that are coming as well, and these three are already here. So if I choose standout mode, and then I choose what I'm going to share, for me, I can just see the screen now, so I can see what I'm sharing. But if I actually just bring up Anthony's screen now as I'm in standout mode, what he will see is a cut-out version of me, so he can't see my background, and it's actually superimposed me in front of that content. That's great if you want to talk about the content and point to things. Obviously, there's a limit. If I go too high, my arm's going to disappear, as you can see, but it does allow me to interact with it slightly here. So it's really good if you want to do that. What I can also quickly do is at the top of my screen, which you can't see right now, is I can just jump to the next way I want to be seen. So this is the side-by-side view. I can change the background that's behind me, but this is a Microsoft standard one. But now, as you can see, I'm actually next to my content. So as I'm scrolling through it, I can talk about it, and they can still see me and see my facial reactions when I'm going through this as well. The last mode then that's available at the moment is the reporter mode, and I'm 100% honest, I don't particularly like this mode. I feel like I'm too big against the content. When I'm sharing content like what's on screen now, it just looks too small to me. You can see me quite clearly, but you can't see my content. However, if this was something like a presentation and it's just got a few bullet points, this mode might be okay. But as you can see, there's lots of different presenter modes we can use, and they all serve a different purpose, really. So it's really up to you as to what content you're sharing and how you want to be seen against it.
Yeah, I think they look fantastic. I think I agree with your view on the final one there, where it seems to be you're too big in front of the content, so you detract from it. But I think the other ones are absolutely fantastic, and the ability that's coming to be able to create custom backgrounds as well. So we'll be able to do a corporate background for them. Will make that a really useful function, and it does just make it a lot easier to watch the presentation. I'm not having to keep looking at your face and then looking at the content to relate to it. So I find that a far more restful way to view content. And I think one of the things that I would recommend with this and with a lot of the things we talked about today would be just try it out. Just book a meeting with a colleague and try it out and get familiar with it and get confident with it, so you can start to use these different ways of presenting. So the next new feature that we're going to look at is along a similar lines to presenter mode, and this is the PowerPoint Live functionality. One of my real pet hates is people who just share their screen with the PowerPoint application on it, and they just you see everything there, the toolbars, the slides down the left hand side, and then they just use that as the way of presenting their PowerPoint, which is incredibly unprofessional and quite distracting. So PowerPoint Live is something that is going to enable people to deliver their PowerPoints in a far more effective way. Megan, do you want to show us what that can do?
Yeah, certainly. So I think you're right there, Anthony. Sharing your PowerPoint in that way is just the worst way to do it. And there's not many times that I say that things in Microsoft are the wrong way when there's multiple ways to do it, but that definitely is the wrong way. So with PowerPoint Live, when we click our share tray, we get all of our usual windows and screens that we're able to share. And obviously we wouldn't do this for PowerPoints. But as we come down then, you can see we've got something here called PowerPoint Live. And underneath here, we get our recent presentations that we've been working on and that we've opened recently that we're able to share. So if I wanted to share one of these, I could simply just click it and it would open up in PowerPoint Live. If the PowerPoint I'm looking for actually isn't in this list, it doesn't mean you're not able to share it through PowerPoint Live. You just have to go into Browse OneDrive or Browse My Computer and find it in this way. That's now going to start the process of sharing that through PowerPoint Live with Anthony. And if it's the first time you've uploaded it, which this one is for me, it may just take a couple seconds to just kick in and work for you. There we go. So that's then shared with Anthony and is opened up as the PowerPoint sort of presenter mode on my screen. So throughout this, we'll show you what it looks like on my screen and what Anthony can then see in return as the attendee that I'm sharing the presentation with. So as a first glance, as the presenter, I get a number of different things here that really help me get through my presentation in the most sleek way, and how I'm also able to collaborate with it. So whilst this is the view I'm getting right now with all these different tools down here, my notes, etc., which we'll go into, if I just share Anthony's screen quickly, what he can see here is literally just the presentation slide that I'm sharing. So as you can see on screen now, he just gets that presentation in full view so he can see that. Coming back to my view then, whilst I can see that presentation slide here that I'm presenting, I can also see the slides that I've got lined up to present as well. And what I can do is I can navigate through them using this arrow here and moving back, or I can simply just jump straight to a different slide if I want to. So I can do that and I can interact in the ways that I want. What I can also do here is I have a couple of different tools at the bottom. So if I come to a slide like this and I want to talk about technology, what Anthony can't see is my mouse right now. So he can't see that I'm highlighting that technology piece. But what I do have here is something like a laser pointer. Now, when I share this with Anthony and I'm using my mouse to highlight this, Anthony can see the laser pointer on his screen. Similarly, if I get a pen like this and I annotate the slide, Anthony can see my annotations happening in real time. So it allows me to collaborate and really engage with my content whilst I'm presenting it to Anthony. As you can see here, as the presenter, I get my notes on screen as well, so I don't have to worry about having them printed out or open on a different screen. They're all appearing here for just my viewing. Now, something I will say when we've got PowerPoint Live open is that as default, when you open it up in PowerPoint Live, your attendees, the other people on the call, are actually able to move through the presentation at their own pace. So whilst I have slide 5 open at the moment, Anthony may also have a different slide open. So if I show you Anthony's slide now, he's actually making his own way through that presentation, as you can see. So in certain use cases, that may be really useful because you may say, look, next 5 minutes, everyone go through the presentation. And if you have any questions about a particular slide, then we can talk about that rather than going through the whole presentation. But of course, there are going to be times that you want to go through the presentation with everybody focused on that particular slide. You don't want them jumping ahead to see things until you're ready for them to see it. To turn that functionality off, there's a little eye icon at the top here. If I just click that, it will put a line through it, and Anthony will then be brought back and locked into the slide that I'm presenting at that time. So as you can see, it is really useful in both use cases if you want people to go through at their own pace, or if you want to lock them in as well. Anthony, I think they're changing that default at the moment as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I've seen some notes about it, because for me, I don't want, often when doing presentations, I don't want people to be able to jump ahead and get to the interesting slides while I'm talking about the boring ones. So yeah, I think there's going to be an option in the Teams admin settings so that you can lock that, so that from as default it stays with that. I mean, this is Megan and I spend our whole life online doing presentations at the moment, and this has been a real game changer for us. I no longer have to have piles of notes on bits of paper just to remind me what to say on all of my slides, because I'm sat there with my notes there ready to go. So absolutely brilliant. And as I said, with the presenter mode, it's worth just booking a meeting with a colleague and getting confident in how you can use this environment, how, which is the right tools to use. There's a highlighter there, there's a rubber there. You've got that option to annotate things and practice with that, and it will just make your presentations far more professional. So now we are going to look at another function which I know Megan was incredibly happy about when it was launched, and it's been around for a while now, but I don't know why, but it's usually Megan or I who end up having to do the minutes from meetings that we have with clients. And being able to record meetings was a real game changer for us, because we could then, you hadn't got to make notes as you go along. You can go rewatch the video afterwards. But transcripts has changed our lives, because it can automatically take those, record what's going on within the meeting and turn it into words and create a Word document for you, so that you can have a written minute. Megan, do you want to show us how we use that functionality?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're definitely right. This was one of the things I was most excited for. I think because I knew it was coming and I didn't know when, and then it just appeared one day. I think that day I probably called a handful, if not more, of my colleagues to show them how it worked and talk about talk about it and show them how it worked and all of that. So I was very excited. But to start as transcript now, you click the More Actions button on the screen here, which is like the 3 dots. And then as you come down, you have the option to start a recording or start a transcription. As standard now, if I do click start recording, it will automatically start that transcription for me, which is incredibly useful, because it used to be a little bit of a hassle to go in, start the recording, then go in and start the transcription. Now, if I just start that transcription, it will start the recording for me as well. I'm just going to unmute myself, because what we should start seeing on this transcript window here, as you can see, is it should start transcribing what I'm saying as I start saying it. As you can see, it shows you the name and the of the person who said it, what time they said it. And if Anthony now jumps in, it will change it to show that he's saying it.
You always do that, and I never know what to talk about other than the fact that the weather's looking good out of the window, although it was snowing and sleeting a few minutes ago.
Thank you very much. You did it. So yeah, as you can see, it's taking that transcript. It is very accurate. Microsoft have put a lot of work in recently to make sure that the accuracy is there. As we go through and more content is added to this transcript, you're able to scroll through it and back to certain bits to review what somebody said previously. And what is great about this, and one of the real sort of key things about this, is not only is it happening in the meeting, once I come out of that meeting, I'm able to go and find that, and I am able to go and download it as a Word document as well, which I can show you in a moment of how we do that. But as you can see, incredibly useful. If you don't want to also be that person that sits and watches it, you can simply close that window. It will happen in the background, and it will just take that transcription for you. So an incredibly useful feature, and one that I think is probably underutilized considering how much time we now spend in online meetings as well.
So the next new feature we're going to look at is live components. Now at Ignite this year, we were introduced for the first time to a whole new kind of concept within Teams, which is called Loop. We've not really got our heads fully around it yet, but we do know that it will rely very heavily on live components, or fluid components as they've been previously called. So we've now within our tenants have got access to live components for the first time as part of the Microsoft Chat environment. So I'm just going to show you what we can do with those. So I'm just in a chat in our demo environment here. And if I look down underneath the message here, you can see I've got the usual format box and the this delivery options box. But the fourth one along here, which is a couple of squares linked together, is the live component box. And if I press that, it'll say what kind of live component do you want to include in this chat. So we've got a bulleted list, a checklist, a numbered list, a paragraph, a table, and a task list as well, which has just recently appeared. So I'm just going to do a bulleted list here as part of this example. So if I click on that option, it will create a bulleted list for me. I can put a title in it, and the way in which we've been using this is to manage our how we put our podcasts together. So if I just call that podcast ideas, and I've got this bulleted list underneath, and I say I'll put in an option here of Microsoft Loop as something we're going to talk about. As soon as I send that message, it shares it in online live with everyone within the chat. So we can start to build together the things that we're going to talk about in our next podcast. So I can already see that my colleague Megan, masquerading as Debbie, has been in there and has added some elements to it. I can go in here and add some more elements to it if I want to. Testing, that was meant to read, etc. So that is now a live component. It sits in the chat. Multiple people, anyone who's part of that chat, can access that and edit it and put comments on it. We can use the usual functions that we would use in a chat, like liking it, and it just builds that up, and that will stay live as long as we want it to. So we will often do that before we're doing the a week before the podcast. We'll put one up and saying put your ideas in here, and then we'll have a meeting nearer the time and go through and just rationalize that and knock out the ones that we're not going to use. So incredibly useful. It's part of, it's a little bit of a glimpse into the future, into what Microsoft Loop will look like, and incredibly useful. A little bit odd to get used to start with, but we're slowly finding organizations who are coming with more and more ideas about how it can be used. What do you think about that, Megan?
I love it. I love the fact that at the top there, within that live component, you have the copy button as well. So you could actually copy that, Anthony. And whilst that's in a chat between you and I personally, you could copy that, put it in a chat between you and Barry, but still you, me, and Barry can all collaborate on that together, even though we're not all in that shared chat. As you say, it takes a little bit of time to get your head around how does that work, etc. But you can copy that, you can put it into those different formats, those different places. I think Loop is then going to grow that to mean that you can add those components into OneNote and emails and whiteboards whilst it's in the chat and everywhere else, just to mean that no matter where you are, you can access it, you can collaborate on it. And it just makes that whole collaboration side a lot easier because there's not just restriction as to where you can collaborate. So I love it. I'm excited to get Loop involved and see the sort of evolution of these live components as well.
Yeah, just while we're in chat, I've just thought one of the things that has come in probably in the last 2 or 3 months is the ability to reply to a message, which is very useful. So if you've got this persistent chat, if there was something that I can see a message up here where Debbie's asked me to give her a call, I can actually now reply to that. So if this was in the this was yesterday, I can reply to that message. It will give me a copy of that message in my composer box there, and I can just say, sorry, I missed this. Can I call you at 2 p.m.? Sorry, I'll try and spell things correctly. And then that now puts that message into the chat. And if Debbie's forgotten what it was that she wanted me to call her about, or forgotten the context of that, you can actually click on the message and it will take you back in the chat to where that particular message was there, and it highlights it on the screen. So very useful, just a very simple function. I think it was actually in the iOS and Android mobile applications for some time before they dropped it into the full Teams client option. So yeah, just another thing that sits alongside the live components in chat. Megan, you were going to tell us about virtual commute. I know that as a mental health first aider, that whole kind of well-being aspects of Teams is something that you're very interested in. So yeah, tell us about that.
Definitely. This is part of Viva Insights, which is, again, another recent feature that's come to Teams. But if I share my screen now and I open up my window on the left-hand side here where I can add in all the other applications, I've got Viva Insights there. If you haven't got that at the moment, just search for it and you can add it. You can also pin it to the side to make it easier. But Viva Insights as a whole is just analytics to your personal well-being. They're private to you, no one else can see them. And we've got this in here where we've got a lot of different things. So as you can see, if I had a meeting coming up, it would appear here. I'm allowed to reflect on how I'm feeling. So that just gives me the time to think about how I'm feeling and what may have caused me to feel that way, whether that's great or potentially a little bit bad. We can send praise to our colleagues, which is always a great morale booster to send them praise. And we've got some things in here around Headspace. So Headspace is integrated into here now. So we can do a meditation, whether that's a mindfulness exercise around getting ready for a presentation to get you in that right mindset, or if you're stressed, to just help you wind down. But if I come into Protect Time and at the end of my day, I can click this start button here, what I'm able to do is I'm able to see the tasks that I set myself in tasks today that I should have got done. So as I can see here, I was meant to book annual leave for the 3rd of December. It's the end of the day. I can't be bothered to do it right now. If I had done it, I could click done. But if I haven't, I can just click remind me next week. That's now going to set a reminder in my to-do for me to set that time to remind me on the day to book annual leave. But that's just an example. As we go through these, as you can see, I can go through my tasks to see what I should have done. So I can click that I've done that. And then what I can also do is I can get stuff out of my head. So if I think, oh, I really needed to do XYZ, I can add that task straight within here and it will add it to my to-do for me directly. So it just allows you to finish that day knowing what you've completed and knowing what you've taken out of your head and put in your to-do, so you're ready to sort of wind down. The next stage of the virtual commute then is all about tomorrow. What does my tomorrow look like? What have I got booked in? As you can see, I've got no meetings booked in for Monday, but at least I know that. At least I know what I'm coming into. If I had a day full here of meetings, back-to-back meetings, what I don't want to do is log on at 8 a.m, 9 a.m, and then see that that's my day. I want to be ready for that. I want to know that that's coming up. And what I'll also get here is if I haven't RSVP'd to any meetings, I get the option to do it directly within here as well. So at least I'm giving people the heads up that I'm either going to be there or not going to be there before the actual day. The next part then is that reflecting on your feelings. How are you feeling today after a full day of work? Am I feeling great? Or am I feeling a bit neutral today? And what this is great for is just taking that time to actually reflect on it and think about why you may be feeling that way. The great thing about this is no matter what, these results are always private to you. So your manager can't see them. No one else in the organisation can see them. They're private to you and just gives you that time to reflect here. And then the last section, as you can see here, is all around mindfulness and that meditation. So at the end of each day, you have a 10-minute guided meditation with Headspace that just allows you to wind down. Once we finish that virtual commute and we're now ready for the rest of our day. So that's just really useful because we're no longer getting that real commute of driving or on the train to the office or wherever we were, we're just walking straight from our study to the kitchen. This just gives us 10 minutes at the end of the day to come out of work mode into our personal life mode, and get ready to start interacting with the family or the dog or whoever's at home, so that you've not got work still swirling around your head and you know that it's all wrapped up for the day.
I was going to say I was kind of cynical about these things, as people of my age are. But I really realised when we started to work from home that you just get no rest and you get no downtime. If I was in the office, I've got a 45-minute drive home. I would just review the day almost in my head without thinking. I'd probably then put some music on or listen to a podcast or an audio book, and that would be kind of downtime. So when I got home, I was ready to face the family. We don't get that now, and more so even just between meetings. It's very difficult to get your head together between meetings, so they just come at you, like machine gun bullets. Sometimes you come off one and you're like going, I've got to prep. Next one starts in 3 minutes. Let's go for it. Those little short headspace kind of get ready for a meeting, something to do between a meeting, just 2 or 3 minutes just to calm things down and reset are really, really useful. So I have used those on several occasions now. But no, I think it's great functionality. I'll just mention one of my favorite functions in Outlook is that you can say I want to book a meeting. When I book a meeting for an hour, make it 55 minutes or make it 45 minutes, so that you don't, you just don't get them back-to-back meetings. You've always got some breathing space between meetings. But yeah, there's some great functionality in Teams around the wellbeing piece, and we maybe should do a podcast on that at some point, just to pick up on all the new stuff that's coming in there. So one of the challenges we have with Teams is that there's so much development going on in there. There's so many new features that are being announced all the time that it's difficult to keep up with them. So 2 things we do, and I'll ask Megan to talk about the first one first, which is our Adopt 365 kind of update and training platform. What can you tell us about that, Megs?
So this is Adopt 365. It's built internally by the team at Computerworld. And as Anthony said, it's a really good platform to, one, keep your users up to date on all the latest training, all the latest features that have come into Microsoft 365. But also, if you have people that are starting from the ground of never using something like Teams before, maybe they've just joined your organization, we have lots of content here in all different formats to give everybody the training they need to be able to use the applications in the best way. So we've got playlists here which are full of short, sharp videos and bite-sized written content to show you very quickly how to do that particular thing in Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Planner and all the applications within 365. We have live training in here every month where there's a live chat feature to talk to us, the Microsoft specialists at Computerworld, and there's a lot more to it where we can customize it for your organization as well. So really happy to do demonstrations of the platform in a lot more detail than I've just gone through, because that was a very quick whirlwind stop tour of this, but we can go into the full detail of what type of content's in here, how regularly we update it, how you can customize it for your organization as well. So if you do want to book a demonstration of Adopt 365 and understand how your organization and users could use it, head over to the perks page of Define Tomorrow and check out the form that you can fill in to book your session. We can book that directly with you, and then we can go through Adopt 365.
So the second thing that we do on that, and we've referred to this a few times during this session, is our Adopt 365 podcast. So we tend to promote that on LinkedIn. It's available on all good podcast subscriber services. I would thoroughly recommend that you go and subscribe to that, because in each session, so once a month we do a session, we will introduce, look at the new functionality, and then the second part of it is to have a deep dig into some of the other stuff that's in there. We have a kind of champions community who we invite along to present there. So if you're interested in getting involved in that and you're someone who's leading the deployment of Microsoft Teams within your organization, then you're welcome to reach out to us and join in some of those sessions. We tend to have a half-hour kind of conference call before we start the session and pick up on various points from that. And it's just a very easy way to keep up to date with what's going on within Teams and Microsoft 365. Yeah, we'd love to have you involved in those. So that's all we're going to cover today. Thank you very much, Megan, for the demonstrations and for your input into this. I think we both see Teams in organizations from different sides, because I get involved in setting up and working out how best they can make use of it. Megan's at the coalface delivering a lot of training around it as well, so she gets an insight into which of these functions and features is actually delivering benefits to people and which is not. But thank you very much for your time today. I really hope you're enjoying Define Tomorrow as a conference. I hope one day that we'll be able to get back together in a room and do this as we used to in the old days. But yeah, Megan, do you want to say a few parting comments?
No, just thank you for joining us, everybody. If you'd like any more information on Microsoft 365 training, adoption, any of the consultancy that Anthony does as well, just give us a shout and we'd be more than happy to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.